What does going bankrupt actually mean? Lots of millionaires and billionaires like 50 file for bankruptcy, and you would think that means they go broke, but they still remain rich somehow. So what does bankruptcy actually mean and entail? Bankruptcy is a legal declaration that you have more debts than you can possibly pay, so a court has to come in to decide how to split a limited pool of money, and what you get to keep. There are several different types of bankruptcy that all have their own rules about who gets priority on money and what the individual gets to keep. Rich people typically have corporations, which are a distinct legal entity. So when the corporation goes bankrupt, it insulates the person's savings, since the person and the corporation are legally different people. This is the important distinction: corporate bankruptcy versus personal bankruptcy. When a divorced guy with 3 kids gets sick and can't pay his medical bills, he has to declare personal bankruptcy. Anyone going through personal bankruptcy is not rich. But when people say Trump filed bankruptcy 5 times, they mean 5 of his companies declared corporate bankruptcy. That usually does cost a rich person money, depending up on how he had his money invested in that business, but it doesn't impact his personal finances. There are 2 definitions: the common usage one and the legal one. Going bankrupt means being broke in common usage. The term means exhausted, deprived, depleted, etc. Filing bankruptcy means undergoing a federal legal process that essentially claims, I am unable to reasonably pay the debts that I owe, and need to find a legal solution. There are a few different types of legal bankruptcy, and exactly what happens in each is different. General oversimplifications, as best I recall, are: Chapter 7 liquidation of any excess of assets, money is split among creditors, any remaining debt is discharged. Chapter 13 reorganization doesn't require liquidating, it instead works to come up with a repayment plan that is achievable and agreeable, with debt in excess of the repayment plan being discharged. E.g., you might not pay off the whole debt and interest as originally agreed, but you reach a court-assigned repayment schedule to pay off as much as reasonably achievable. Chapter 11 reorg usually used by businesses, but technically can be done by individuals. IRC, similar to 13, but is sort of an active restructuring of finances approach with a similar develop a revised plan to repay creditors over time goal. Bankruptcy is when someone cannot pay all of their debts in full and on time. It is a process of asking the court system to step in and mediate the resolution, instead of one lender being pissed they didn't get paid while others did, etc. There are multiple kinds of bankruptcy, most focusing on rehabilitation. Remember, it is in full and on time, so someone might have plenty of assets, but a cash flow problem where they can't liquidate the assets quickly enough to meet their debt obligations. If the bank wants $1 million in cash tomorrow, and you have a piece of real estate worth $5 million, you have the assets, but the bank can't be paid on time. Very wealthy people might go bankrupt for such cash flow problems. Or a business might go bankrupt and undergo reorganization to keep operating. Relatively rarely used is the liquidation, or fresh start version, which most people think about when they hear bankruptcy. Basically, it's when you say you can't pay your bills anymore based on your current income or savings. There's different versions, but the most common version has a court verify you cannot pay, then pauses interest on many debts and calculates a way for you to pay them back or part of it back. In certain situations, this may be selling some of your assets to do so. It's effectively the courts overriding the contracts you have with various banks, credit cards, etc., to decide the best way to pay back all or part of your debt, while protecting your survival to a reasonable extent. A large number of businesses go bankrupt every year. Most of these are smaller incorporated businesses, so you do not hear about them in the press. Many of these smaller businesses are privately owned, where the owner took risks to try to make the business successful, but those risks were not successful, or just made poor business decisions that ended up with the business owing more debts than it could reasonably pay for. An incorporated business going bankrupt does cost any further money from its owners than they have already invested in it, and in fact the owners may have already recovered most or all of their original investment before the bankruptcy occurs.
Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next exciting video.